It's Monday, it's Scotty, it's Motty, it's producer Alexei, and it's you if you are watching live. If it's not, God knows what time it is or day it is if you're catching up late. But whatever you're doing, make sure you're subscribing. We're going to be getting into Beckham potentially returning to Manchester United very, very soon. Yep, subscribe. But first up, I wanted to have a bit of a word with you because you were wrong, and that seldom happens.
No, impossible.
Yeah.
Like
outside of your house, you're never wrong.
Literally. Yeah, that sounds to be a fine thing in my house. I don't think I've ever been wrong, ever.
Okay, I'll prove you being wrong because in the summer you said Manchester United need more than Højlund up front. We need another striker.
Yeah.
And you're written off Scott McTominay, as the kids would call him, a dusty baller.
A dusty baller. Washed baller.
Washed baller.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
He's our saviour. And I'm just glad that I, for one, have always backed him.
Yeah.
I've always said he's good enough for United. We need to build a team around him. He definitely didn't have a bad game against Bayern Munich or against Brighton. And I was glad, and I think if you check all the video evidence, it'll support me. I was glad he stayed in the summer.
No, and that's exactly the same sort of sentiment I had. I wasn't fuming that we allowed Fred to leave, and
no.
I was so glad that we kept McTominay.
100% not. I was on the watch along, right, on Saturday, and when he came on, I was going to say something like jokingly, like slightly derogatory, dismissive of him.
Yeah.
Gone, oh, you know what? Ten Hag's got a sense of humour, or something along those lines. And I stopped myself because I thought he could get his head on something and get a goal there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He has got goals for us in the past, and he's capable of it. He gets a lot of goals for Scotland. So I stopped myself. I'm so glad I did because I could have done without that getting clipped up. I mean, I already got clipped up because I didn't think we were going to win, which I don't think anyone did at like 90 minutes.
No.
Joe said to me, what the odds on us getting an equaliser? And I said, I don't think we'll get an equaliser. He said, winner. I said, forget a winner. I don't think we'll get an equaliser. But then when we did, obviously, I was buzzing. So, yeah, it was mad because I just did not see that coming. When he came on, even though I stopped myself from saying anything too dismissive, I just didn't really see it happening. And the manner it did was just crazy for us to get 2 goals in the last 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It was mad, and it was good, man. It was good. And fair play to McTominay because I looked at him after that Bayern Munich game, and I thought, it looks like his heart's not in it. I looked at the Brighton game, and I thought, he's just poor. Like, he doesn't look like he's got the energy. The one thing that Scott McTominay's always given you is a bit of energy, even if his performance is always levels.
Yeah, he's always had an engine, hasn't he?
Yeah, you might not think, there's a question whether he's good enough, but he's always giving you that energy. And it seemed to be lacking a little bit, but he pulled his socks up, came on, and absolutely won us the game. And fair play as well to Harry Maguire, who deserves an honourable mention because he got the assist. I thought he had a decent game, to be fair. Harry Maguire didn't set the world alight, but didn't do anything wrong, unlike a lot of his teammates. I thought he was probably the best of a bad bunch in that defence. And he got the assist as well.
Do you think that Scott McTominay, 2 questions, saved the season? Because obviously we're still in the title race now, mathematically. Only 8 points off, so we can still possibly win the league.
We win all our games.
Yeah.
We guaranteed to finish above City.
Yeah.
I think. Well, or level with them.
Yes, so there's hope there. But also, further still, do you think that possibly saved Ten Hag's job at United? Because I think if that ends 1-0, we go off an international break. I don't think he pulls that back. We've been here before, how much that sort of toxicity can build after that.
It can go 2 ways, Kai. I think you make a good point because people will go, well, you don't get sacked for losing at home to Brentford. Sooner or later, there's a straw that breaks the camel's back.
Yeah.
Where there's one result where you go, that was it. There was no coming back from that one. And you might not get sacked there and then. Like with Van Gaal, he didn't get sacked after the FA Cup final because that was when the decision was made. The decision was made around the Christmas time when we lost to Bournemouth, we lost to Stoke, and we lost to Norwich, I think it was. That's when the board went, he's not our guy. Let's get Jose. Jose had just been sacked from Chelsea. So the talks went on behind the scenes. So that could have been a fatal blow for him. Because I remember under Ole, I was saying this on, I think I was saying it on The Brew or on Off the Bar on Thursday. With Ole, I felt like the draw against Everton at Old Trafford was a game where I didn't see him coming back from it. I thought, this is it, him done. For Jose, it was a Sevilla game.
The Sevilla game.
Remember the Sevilla game?
Yep.
And I thought, you know what? I don't think this has a happy ending. I think he's done. Might not now. He lasted another 7 months, whatever. But that is it. And it was the same with the Everton game. With that, it could have been that game where you go, he don't come back from this.
Looking at the performance though, brilliant win, and everyone gets elated because you win in that manner. It does paper over the cracks because Brentford weren't particularly good that game. We were just very, very bad. And what was massively disappointing was the sort of calibre of players that were underperforming. Casemiro again, obviously getting taken
Really
off.
troubling.
Yeah,
Really troubling.
So you look at the moving ahead now. How do you sort of see it going? Is it a turning of the corner, or is it? Are we still going to get more bumps on the road?
The thing is with this fight, I remember going into the international break under David Moyes, and the last game before it was Arsenal at home, and we won 1-0 to a late Van Persie winner, and I was convinced that's it. We turned the corner because Moyes had a difficult time. Big win over Arsenal. Going into the international break, we'll come back from this. Our tails will be up. We're back on it. Van Persie's getting in the goals. Danny Welbeck's there. You know how much I love him. It's all going to happen. And we came back, and I think we drew the next 2 games, which just knocked the wind out of our sails, and they were not great. Not great draws to get as well. So it could be, if we come back and we beat Sheffield United, then okay, yes, something's going. If we go to Bramall Lane and we lose to a Sheffield United team, who no disrespect to them, but have been absolutely abysmal this time round in the Premier League, then you're back to square one.
Yeah.
People are going, this guy, Sheffield United, out away for. All the old arguments are away from. Shocking. He don't know what he's doing. Players are underperforming. But the one sort of comfort I will take is, or several bits of comfort I'll take. One, we've got big players coming back from injury. Like, defensively, I feel for Onana. He had a stinker, again, back-to-back stinkers. But it doesn't help as well when you've got so many different defenders in front of you constantly. I think it'll help when we get a bit of a settled back four. And when we've got defenders in defenders' positions, like, okay, you might argue on Saturday we did, but we had a centre-back at right-back, a right-back at left-back, I think. No, a centre-back at left-back, sorry. Then you had, to be fair, you had a pretty normal sort of setup otherwise, but again, it was all second choice and third choice.
Yeah, so there are a lot of square pegs in round holes, wasn't it?
And then previous to that, you've had a midfielder at left-back, you've had all sorts going on. You've had a 35-year-old who's starting for you. You've had a loanee who's come in and then got injured. It's just been chaos. So I think it'll help the fact that if we get Varane back for Sheffield United, that's a big move. If we can get, or when Reguilon comes back, he could be back for Sheffield United. If you've got Reguilon at left back, Varane and say Maguire, and Dalot at right back, that looks like a decent back four. I said this on the podcast before. It's a step forward. Plus, you've got some big players coming back elsewhere as well. Kobe Mainu, I think just having his energy in and around the team is going to help us. He doesn't even necessarily start. He might just get minutes, but he's a good player who everyone was excited to see this season. It adds a bit of positivity.
Yeah, and the thing
I'm not
is,
saying he's a saviour. Sorry, I didn't mean to insult you there. I just want to make the point. I'm not saying an 18-year-old coming back into the team is a saviour, but it adds that little bit of youthful exuberance and that energy of like, oh yeah,
of
positive
course.
vibes again.
And the thing is that when you were mentioning there about Van Gaal's sort of fatal game or Ollie's or Jose's, they were playing with a full deck, whereas at the moment Ten Hag isn't. So it's
horrible, isn't it?
Yeah, it's horrible. But I still think some of the time, some of the games.
Anthony's back in the squad now.
Yeah,
he got his little cameo the other day. How much of a bonus or what do you make of him coming back into this team? Because Eric Ten Hag obviously rates him. He spent a lot of money on him. He starts every game he's fit for Eric Ten Hag, or available, I should say, for Eric Ten Hag. Do you look at that as a net positive for Manchester United? Or I think he's not that guy.
I think he's better than Palestra because he's had more of a career. Palestra's still on, still only a young starling.
Fair comment.
So I think he's better than Palestra, and we haven't got any other options on the right. Obviously, Sancho's not even going to be an option. We'll talk about him very, very soon. I don't think he's set the world alight by any stretch of the imagination. He can't control the price tag that United paid for him, but Ten Hag was quite happy for United to go and go. No, as high as we did. Was it 80 million in the end?
I think, I think with add-ons, it's going to go up to maybe close to 100 million euros, but that's with add-ons.
Right.
And it might be an Andy Martial where some of them add-ons are like Ballon d'Or winning and Champions League winners. I don't know, but it was anything between 70 and 100 million euros.
I don't think Antony's the sort of player, not just a right winger, that will, get into any of our teams that we want to sort of compete with. He doesn't get into a City team. I don't think he gets into Liverpool. I don't think he gets into that Spurs team. Do you know what I mean? And we should be having players that are... I don't think that Man United at the moment have many players that other clubs are envious of or would want to sign. I don't think.
You know what? You make a good point.
Who out of our starting 11 would go into any of them, our competitors?
Well, the players that you would have picked last season have fallen off a cliff. So Casemiro walks into most teams, not anymore. Marcus walks into most teams, not at current form. I mean, there's people moaning about him being in the England squad. Defensively, Martinez would have, but he's not available. Andre Onana's not getting anyone's team. The form he's in, let's have it right. I think Dalot's done all right, but again, is he usurping Kyle Walker or whoever, probably, or Trent?
Yeah.
Alexander-Arnold, forgive me. Probably not. So it's difficult to see someone and go, he's the guy. Like, maybe, I mean, personally, I'd probably have Bruno over, say, McAllister at Liverpool or whatever. But again, he's not shining.
He's only pulling up trees.
No, he's not.
Yeah,
so it's like in general,
well.
but at the current form,
yeah.
You look at him, you go, he's been off the boil. He's been off the boil. He's been poor. He's looked shaky. His numbers have dropped. There's not many.
No, if you look at,
I'm not saying that to Hale United. I'm just being honest with you, bro.
No, and if you look at last season as well, we take away Marcus Rashford's goals. There was a lot of underperforming players then, but at the moment, what Ten Hag's able to field is a mid-table starting 11 with little glimmers here and there. You know, people who can create moments of like either magic or pull something out like McTominay. But that's it, very moment. That's very Solskjaer-esque, isn't it?
Well, with Solskjaer, it was always the accusation that it was his moments and players producing that bit of magic that got him out of jail. I will say this, right, and I think it's easy, and especially I know you're the sort of the king of doing this, to be slightly cynical and be a bit more realistic. But I do feel that there is an element of everything that can go against us has done this season. I do feel like luck is a thing. Like, that could have gone wrong on Saturday. That something could have happened, just a little moment or a little something else different where Scott McTominay doesn't get you those 2 goals in the last 5 minutes, yeah? Something could have gone against your decision or something, or just one player's not quite there or whatever. But it went our way for once. I think against Arsenal we had it where, again, it was paper thin margins. I've seen that Garnacho offside debated about 1 million times and people still aren't 100% sure that it's definitely offside. That could have gone either way. There was the one against Brighton where it could have gone either way. I know, obviously, they still concede afterwards, but just little things haven't quite gone our way. Injuries stacking up. We've seen some players, you can see what they're about, but they've not quite got going. Mason Mount has shown signs, especially in Europe. There's a player there, we know what he's capable of. He hasn't quite got going. Onana isn't as bad as he's been. He isn't. People act like he was like this at Inter. He wasn't. He got to the Champions League final with Inter and he was mint throughout the competition. He was saving all sorts, and yet he's fallen off a cliff.
In a team that's fallen off a cliff as well. Do you know what I mean?
This is everything that could go wrong. Your keeper having the worst form of his life. Players who are really good not got going. Players who can score a lot of goals just stop scoring. Injuries everywhere. The VAR decisions not going your way. I'm not making complete excuses because you should still beat the likes of Crystal Palace and Brighton and Galatasaray at home. I'm not completely deluded. But we haven't really had the rub of the green. I'm thinking that maybe Saturday was the first time we did get the rub of the green.
Yeah.
And that can be a thing where you think, okay, get some players back. Players start hitting form. Injuries are improving. There's less drama going on. It's like, right, okay, Anthony's back in the squad. That's not obviously gone away, but he's there. Sancho, forget it. He ain't part of it. He ain't going to be. Just get him out of your mind. Maybe then we can start moving forward.
Very good points. Make sure you're subscribing if you're watching now that you haven't done already. We're about 9,500 with the views are going up, but the subscribers aren't going up at the same rate. So please just subscribe. Costs you now to do. Takes you 2 seconds to do it. And as you were talking about there, Sancho, I've tried to have a little bit of a digital detox to take myself off Twitter because it was doing me shedding. So I'm unaware of this news. Sancho, a go-go?
Potentially. I'm going to, just before I get to that, I will get to some of the comments because loads of people are commenting. So UK Strain says, smash the like button. Jim Mack, Antonio, Sid the Whistle. Santa Knott says, McTominay cameo, instructed to stay up front, scores a header, and I've seen fans saying, start him in midfield. A month ago, fans crucified him in midfield. Ulrich Jude says, good evening all. Hope you've had a good Monday so far. Stephen Gamble says about Anthony. Stephen Gamble 55, the Brazilian Dan James. Heaven Soul says, manager makes subs and gets no credit. Good point. With Sancho, there's talk of him going to Juve, isn't there?
Right, okay.
There was talk of you last week, whenever it was, of him going back to Dortmund. Now the latest is that he could be going to Juve in January on a loan with a view to a permanent move.
We're going to lose money again, aren't we?
We are 100% destined to lose money on Jadon Sancho, no matter what happens, because he's had 2 bang average at best seasons, and then a third season where he's fallen out of the manager, and he won't have kicked a ball if he does go to Juve probably for about 4 months.
Do you think that he could go to Juventus and sort of resurrect his career? Because it's floundering at the moment, at best at United, isn't it, at the moment? Is this like a loan or sale that we could end up ruining? There aren't too many United players or former United players that have left, and we've gone, oh, I'm gutted that he's left. Like, I've not gone, Sanchez has left United and gone, he did win the league in Serie A, didn't he? Inter, but I wasn't gutted that he went. Lukaku, didn't miss him. Zlatan I missed, but you couldn't keep him. Weghorst, I've not missed him. Who else have we got rid of over the last sort of 10 years and gone, shit, we should have kept him a bit longer?
No, I hear you 100%. I know it's a rhetorical question. I think there could be a touch of the Paul McGraths about Jadon Sancho, and I'll explain myself there. Paul McGrath is one of the best defenders we've ever had. Anyone who's watched him, who's a bit before my time, I do vaguely remember him, will tell you he was just immense, superb. Went to Villa and was PFA Player of the Year. Like, he left United and shone. But at United, he was having issues. He was drinking far too much. There was a drinking culture. He couldn't get right. He couldn't work it out under Sir Alex Ferguson. Went to Villa, a fresh start, and it worked out for him, and they knew how to handle him. And I think there could be a touch of that with Jadon Sancho, and what I'm getting at is, it's a good move for him that works out for him, but had he stayed, it wouldn't have worked out.
Yeah.
So it made sense, and you might look at it, and you might rue it a bit and go, he's gone to Juve and he's got, 15 assists and 10 goals or whatever. But if he'd stayed at United, he wouldn't have done that.
No.
And I don't think you can keep him at United and get loads of money for him. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can't go, well, we took too little money from him off Juve, because the longer you keep him at United, the more his value decreases.
Yeah, and there's a lot of evidence of the players like that.
Yeah, so there's no point going, well, we're not going to sell him to Juve for, say, on loan and with a view to a £50 million move or whatever it is. We'll keep him. And then in a season, he's barely played, and you go, well, we'll end up taking 25 million off Watford for him because we need to get him off the books, and that's the only offer we got. So I do think he can resurrect his career. He's only young. He's a very talented young lad. I hope someone gets in his ear and says, look, if you go to Juve, this is a great opportunity. It's a big, big club, one of the biggest in the world. Passionate set of fans, a great stadium. You've got some good players around you in a league that is, it's not easy, but for a player of his talents, it's easy for him to shine.
In a Juventus team as well, you know what I mean?
Because it's like, Paul Pogba, the first time he went to Juve, a lot of people rued that and were fuming, and I remember watching him in the academy and I was gutted because he left. Ravel didn't turn out the way we were hoping he would. And it's like, there are two biggest stars out of that academy team that you were hoping were going to be mint are gone. And then obviously Jesse took a few years before he was ready for the first team, and Will Keane had massive injury problems. But like with Sancho, I feel like, yes, he's a very talented young lad, and you want him to stay. But if he wants to go and it's gonna be better for him, that works out for everyone, and we can't stop that. And if we do try and stop it, it won't work out. And it's the same with Pogba. When he left the academy team, you think we should have kept him. Well, we couldn't. He was out. I think he was more or less out of contract. And all we got was a bit of compensation. We couldn't have kept him here. And we had to just let him go. And I think that people rue it and go, oh, I can't believe we let him go for nothing. And it was a bit embarrassing that happened. But what could you have done? Maybe you could have done a little bit more to try and keep him. But Mino Raiola got in his ear. He wanted to leave. He wanted to go to Juve. He was going to be on big money. He was never going to earn that at United as an 18-year-old.
And it worked out for Pogba as well at Juve. That they played the best football there, and obviously his career's gone down the pan. So I think I agree with you. Sancho to leave to go to Juventus on a loan with a view to a sale in the summer is probably best for all parties. We certainly won't miss him because he's not showed up for work when he has showed up.
No, you're right. And you know what it is sometimes? Everyone has that sort of the Donald Trump attitude of in every deal there's a winner and there's a loser. Yeah, like you've either won that deal or you've lost it, and it doesn't have to be like that. You can have a mutually beneficial deal. You can have a deal where it's like the player's happy, Juventus are happy, United are happy. Like it does happen. Alexei, what do you reckon, Sancho?
Yeah, it's just a shame, isn't it? I think it once all that stuff happened and he didn't apologise straight away, it was just bound to be done. I think it is just a shame how it's turned out, but I think it's good Ten Hag isn't taking it, obviously, and I think previous managers let players get away with too much and the standards kind of weren't there, so it's good there is standards now, whether you're Sancho or Maguire or Ronaldo. If you do things wrong, you get punished, and because I think that's part of the reason why things went so wrong, because players were just allowed to do what they want under loads of managers. So he's obviously going to leave. I mean, I hope he does all right, but you know, he's not covered himself in glory, really, has he? But we need players who train properly and want to play for the club. Because he did cost 73 million as well,
and then the wages on top of that, like the amount of wages that
like
were paid.
370k
Yeah,
a week or
it's absolutely scandalous how much he's actually getting paid to do nothing. Right, some other news that I was unaware about. You told me David Beckham is coming back to Manchester United.
Potentially,
what's this?
There's a story doing the rounds. I think it's been in the Express. I think Talk Sport have had it. Mood Swing Gaming is in the comments says, what do you make of the Beckham news surrounding the Qatar purchase? Feels like something is going down behind the scenes. Also, C-Fence, thanks for subscribing. Hit that like button as well, people. Let's get to 100 likes. Yeah, there was news yesterday that David Beckham, well, he got interviewed at the Qatar Grand Prix and he was asked about United, and he said just basically about the owners not being up to the job, and he knows people that could do the good
right,
job.
yeah.
Someone said, did you just see him? And he said, we'll see. So everyone's like, oh, it must be. Yeah, come on. He's got ties to Qatar, and surely it's going to be Sheikh Jassim. The latest news is that not only is it going to be Sheikh Jassim that he's part of, you know, the takeover bid with or whatever, but he's going to be an ambassador for the club if Sheikh Jassim is successful. So that's the news. It kind of makes sense for me, because I think if Beckham does have any involvement in this takeover, it is probably going to be as an ambassador if they're successful. I don't think he's going to be sat in the boardroom making business decisions.
Director of football,
Yeah,
David
exactly.
Beckham.
He's not going to be the manager of the team, is he? But if he does come in, he'll probably be an ambassador, and he'd be a good one because he's one of the most recognisable football players of all time. And he's obviously a passionate United fan. Now, I've spoken about my views on Qatar and that ownership. I can't bother going into that again. But if we are going to have Qatar and that is going to be the ownership model, then having David Beckham involved, I don't think necessarily is a bad thing.
Do you think it's like, instead of sport washing, is it Beckham washing?
In what way?
So like a lot of the people are saying that Qatar are buying Manchester United for a sport washing. So are they using Beckham as part of that?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Using his, but if that's a thing that people are buying
create
into.
a positive atmosphere and if the idea behind sport washing is it's good PR for whoever your sports.
Well, that's what I mean. So they're using Beckham to do the same thing. Then they're using his PR as a clean.
I would think so, because Beckham does have a. I mean, you saw it in the Qatar World Cup, didn't you?
Yeah,
he was an ambassador, I think, and he got questioned on that, and he sort of defended it because there was some people criticising because he's a gay icon, and people saying, you know, look at the way LGBTQ plus community have been treated there, and he was like, oh well, I spoke to people and they had, you know, they were from that community and they said it was fine. I think we saw a lot of reports that there was people that didn't feel fine when they were getting chucked out of the stadium for waving.
I wonder who the person he spoke to.
I know
that said,
Joe
like,
was talking about
fine.
this. It's not like he's mingling with the proletariat, is it? But no, in answer to your question, I think David Beckham makes sense as an ambassador if they are going to go down that route. He's got ties to them.
Yeah.
He's well known. He's well respected by pretty much everyone associated with United. Fans love him still, and he's a wholesome type of guy, isn't he? He's the kind of ambassador that you think would be a safe pair of hands.
I think so. And in terms of players marketing themselves, he was he broke new ground, didn't he? Do you know, when he came onto the scene? You know, beforehand there was a lot of. I think you mentioned this in the book. There was a lot of players who were just getting little deals here, Brill Cream or whatever. And if you look at Beckham, he was sort of the first sort of trailblazer in terms of like brand identity and stuff. It was like brand Beckham before. It was very sort of more.
Yeah,
cool.
you'd have like gigs.
Gigs to do Reebok adverts.
Boots, yeah, spot on. I remember Andy Cole doing Reebok as well. I remember like Ian Wright, I think, and Eric doing Nike.
Yeah.
You know.
It's more sport where Beckham branched out into all.
You might have like the odd like footballer who's doing a little bit of something. You know, like gigs flogging corn sausages.
Brian Robson birthday cards.
Spot on. But with Beckham, it was a complete brand, wasn't it? It was Brill Cream. It was the front of the Elder magazines. It was pushing all sorts really as part of his brand. You know, just everything. I can't even remember half of it. And he was everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, you'd see him on the back page of the papers, obviously for his football. You'd see him on the front of different fashion magazines, music magazines, just style magazines, everything.
Yeah.
He was all over the gaff. And obviously there was a lot what he did on his own. There was some that he did with his missus. It was just a whole new different world that kind of undid him a little bit with Fergie. I think Fergie just saw it and thought, I can't have this. Didn't buy into it. And then, I know you've not watched the documentary, but on the documentary it talks about how that Carlos Queiroz didn't rate Beckham as highly as others. And
Really?
said that Beckham, when he did an advert, I think it was for Pepsi or something, where he bulked up a bit. I don't know if he had, but there was an advert, because Beckham says he's a load of nonsense, and it's almost impossible to prove. But Carlos Queiroz argued that Beckham had put on an extra 2 or 3 kilograms to bulk up for this advert.
Oh, he's concentrating more on the
yeah, and that had affected his performances, his running or whatever. I mean, it sounds a bit far-fetched to me, but there was this argument anyway, and yeah, the whole brand Beckham was just huge. I've never seen anything like it. And the interesting thing about documentary is when he goes to Real Madrid, who are a team full of Galacticos, Zidane, R9, Figo, just...
Oh, that's a stupid team. That they didn't win the Champions League, did they?
No, I don't know if they won. When did they win it? They won it in 2002, was it? I think
they won it the year before.
Before he got there.
He didn't win the Champions League at Real Madrid.
No, he didn't. No, you're right. But yeah, I mean, they go on tour to the Middle East, to the Far East, sorry, basically because of Beckham, because they bought Beckham, and Perez is like, you going, because this is going to make us loads of money. And even some of the other Madrid players are like, we've never seen anything like it, because it's just his star power is unreal. It's
people who are watching either the David Beckham documentary now or listen to us too, this was before social media. Do you know what I mean? So can you imagine if Beckham was on social media back then, like if it was the infancy of social media? People look at Ronaldo being followed and all that sort of stuff, but he was such a trailblazer on the sort of publicity stuff outside of the game. There was nothing like him, and that's why there's no other player outside of Beckham from that era that still has a profile. Outside of football.
No. I think you're right. You nailed it. It was just one of a kind. And there's someone, Witterbird in the comments says he's not doing too badly with Inter Miami as a director. Yeah, he does that role for them, I think, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Well, as a
signed
director,
Phil Neville as a manager. That was
did you see that interview with Phil Neville where he loses his rugby reporter? That's one of my favourite interviews.
Where he forgets what he's
saying. No, it's not even an interview, is it? It's a press conference. And he starts laying into him, doesn't he? And he's like, don't interrupt me, I don't interrupt. Then he swears. And then he says, apologies for swearing. And then he takes a minute and he goes, what was the question again? And I think, oh, bro, Phil, what are you doing, son? Like, you just kicked off a report and then forgot the question. He should have just moved on. So said, I'm not answering it. But yeah, listen, Beckham coming back as an ambassador, it's almost irrelevant, isn't it? The big deal there would be, was that, Qatar taking over. That would be or Sheikh Jassim, I should say, although some would argue it's one and the same, taking over. That would be the big news there. And Beckham being an ambassador is almost like a side dish, as Gary Neville said in that documentary.
It feels like every week we're getting fed a different story, because I think we were on about Ratcliffe a couple of weeks ago, weren't we?
Last week
it was. Last Monday, wasn't it, when we were talking about Ratcliffe?
His new offer.
Yeah, and people get fed up at us about it, but we're just fans and we're just talking about the, like two lads down the pub about that. We haven't got a clue what's going on, but it's as frustrating for us as anybody else. Do you see us selling shares to anybody else except for the Glazers this side of Christmas? Are you optimistic?
I'm not optimistic at all. It's been 11 months now, isn't it, since the strategic alternatives announcement, where it was like, oh yeah, that's it, they're going to sell the club. Then you've had these offers come in. You had that nutty Icelandic geezer, didn't you? He was trying to buy half the club and the other half will be bought by the fans. Yeah, because United fans are going to pull together and come up with £3 billion. You had
I like that idea.
I like the idea, but it is nothing more than an idea. It's never going to be a reality. Then you had, obviously, Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Sheikh Jassim. There was talk that maybe there's some hedge funds or something like that. Then you've got this other argument that the Glazers want to hold out until the World Cup in America.
Yeah.
When is it?
2024, is it?
2024. When's the World Cup 26. In America? 26, isn't it?
Yeah,
2026, because you think that's going to encourage loads of American billionaires to want to buy football.
What do you make of the 2030 World Cup? The World Cup that's taking place around the world.
Right. Is this not quite as bad as people are saying, right? Because
I understand the sentiment to it, but why didn't they just have it in Uruguay?
Because apparently, I think the issue is Uruguay cannot hold a World Cup.
They haven't got the
infrastructure and facilities to host a World Cup that's going to have how many teams? It's going to have about 50 teams in it.
Well, Qatar didn't have it. They didn't have the...
Well, Qatar's just got unlimited money to just go, right, what do we need to do?
Yeah.
Let's build whatever we need to build. Let's do all this. Let's just make it happen. And they did. I don't know if Uruguay could do that. The thing is, right, everyone's kicking off about it because it's like you're going to have a World Cup across 6 countries. But aren't 3 of those countries just having one game?
Is that all it is? Yeah.
I think, because I think that the Spain, Portugal, and Morocco are gonna host the World Cup, and then because it's the anniversary of the World Cup, the 100-year anniversary, Argentina and Paraguay and Uruguay, I think, will host just a game. I think.
So automatically 6 teams are qualified for the World Cup based on where it's being hosted, because that's usually the case, isn't it? The host country qualifies.
I don't know if they got rid of that though. Did the host qualify automatically? I don't know if that's still a thing.
Is it right?
I don't know. Get involved in the chat in the comments, because I think they might have got rid of that. But also people are saying like, "Oh, you're going to have it in Spain, Portugal, and Morocco."
They're close to each other, to be fair.
Yeah, because people are going like, because Morocco's in Africa, isn't it?
But Morocco is literally like a 40 minutes.
That's what I mean. People are like, so you can have it in South America, Europe, and Africa.
Yeah.
And then you go, hang on a minute. The South American one's is 3 games. The African one is literally right next to Spain and Spain and Portugal. It's like, like you say, a 20-minute boat ride or whatever.
Yeah.
It's not quite as dramatic as people are making out.
That'd be quite a cool World Cup to go to though, like traveling across Iberia.
Yeah, no, 100%. I'm actually.
We'll nearly be 40 of them. 2030.
Sweat.
Yeah.
Not far off. Not far off, bro. Bloody hell, didn't even think about that. I actually like the American one as well. I want to go to the American one, mate.
Well,
it's Canada, America, and Mexico.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah. So you could do like we was looking at logistics a few weeks ago, and I think there's a way you could do like 3 games in 3 countries in like 24 hours or something.
That'd be cool.
That'd be sick, that, wouldn't it? Let us know what you think about the prospects of the World Cup. As a viewer, right, most people, and get involved in the chat in the comments, let me know if I'm wrong, won't be going to the World Cup.
No.
Right? 99.9% of people that watch the World Cup don't go with it. Yeah? Like, their enjoyment of the World Cup will be purely from watching it on the telly or on a screen. And obviously, it affects you, because if no one's got that World Cup and the stadium's empty, then it's going to be a terrible World Cup and it's going to affect the spectacle of it.
Yeah.
But that doesn't tend to happen. So I just want to know what your thoughts are, and if you're not going and you are angry, why are you angry? Why are you annoyed? Alexei, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think, with the World Cups, I think the way they're done now isn't very kind of accessible for fans generally, is it? And I think, obviously, the Premier League isn't as fan accessible, but with the Premier League, a lot of fans of the teams still go to games. So like United fans go to games, or City fans go to games. Whereas with World Cups, it tends to be most people, kind of like Jay said a minute ago, most people will not be able to go for various reasons. But yeah, I mean, it would be a really good bucket list thing, wouldn't it? If you managed to go to 3 different countries and that for a World Cup. But is it? I presume it's back in the normal time again. The next one, is it? Like it'll be.
Yeah,
back
the next
in the
one will
summer?
be in July or June to July, and like you said,
Where's the next one?
Canada, Mexico, and
That's the 2026 one.
yeah, and then the one after that, I
Is
think
that Italy and Saudi Arabia?
it's Spain, Portugal, and Morocco. That's going to be in the summer. What made me laugh is when there was an announcement, I think it was this morning or yesterday, that Saudi Arabia intends to bid for the World Cup. And we were joking upstairs in the office saying, Saudi Arabia may as well just announce they've got the World Cup.
Yeah.
Because that is a done deal. That is, I would bank anything I have on that. They have got the 2034 World Cup. It ain't going anywhere else. Forget it. Apparently the rumours are, or the reports are, they've already got all those votes sorted. Do you know what I mean? And that will be a Winter World Cup, because that Saudi Arabia in the summer ain't happening.
No,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, listen, I was there in South Africa for the first African World Cup, I think it was, and I felt a little bit sorry for some of the people like on the ground who were there, because they'd been promised all this money by FIFA, and some of them had spent their life savings on, having market stalls at the FIFA events and the fan parks, and just didn't make any money. I felt a bit sorry for them. But as a World Cup, as a host nation, I think they did themselves proud. And I think that you always question it when anything changes, and this is going to be a bit different, and you should have one country. But
remember when we went to Brazil for the World Cup, and they were still building the stadiums while we were there. Watching America versus Ghana, and we were like some makeshift stand. I thought this is terrible.
That's Brazil.
Yeah,
which is like
home of football. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And like they always, I think they shoot themselves in the foot as well sometimes, FIFA, because it's like when England were up for it, and then they said, "Oh, technically England's was the best bid, but we didn't get it. Russia did." And you think, well, why? If we were the best bid, why didn't we get it? We had the best stadium, infrastructure, everything, but they went, "We're going to give it Russia," and it felt a bit like, well, why have you said that? If you just said you went with Russia because it was the best bid, then no one would have questioned it.
Yeah. Does any of that matter?
Some people would have.
Does any of it matter where it's hosted? Really? Because people just enjoy the football. Like you said, 99% of the fans aren't going to the World Cup. It's a once. I mean, I know you've done it twice, but for a lot of people, if to go to a World Cup is a once in a lifetime sort of thing.
I think it matters to me. No, you're right. You've just qualified that by saying most people won't go. I think it can matter if you think it's being hosted in a nation with certain, if that bothers you, with certain
this is the point
values you've got.
Yeah, this is the point.
If that bothers you.
With Qatar's a great example.
Like I didn't go to the World Cup. Steve went, Ronnie went.
Did they have a good time?
Did you see Stephen Allison's socials?
I had to mute him.
Oh my God. Every time he pops up on there, he was with another bona fide legend.
Yeah.
Just hanging around with Lofar Mateus. I'm just with R9. I'm just with Figo, whatever you like. Oh, bore off. So yeah, I mean, obviously he was living a different experience to everyone else. He was hanging around with Rio Ferdinand and making content with him and all that gang. But yes, from anyone I spoke, not just them two, but Ronnie was there, and other people I know went. They said, yeah, they enjoyed it. They said it was, as a spectacle, it was good. It's just whether you can ignore some of the stuff that was going on. South Africa, there was some shady stuff that went. I'm not going to pretend it wasn't. Like there was reports that they'd bust people out of towns and just dumped them in the just to get them out of cities.
And Russia as well. I think that had its own.
And Russia just invaded the Crimea or something just before they got
during that time. There's a lot of things regarding sort of there's a lot of homophobia as well going on during that time.
Where do you stand on this? Just quickly, I know it's quite
on homophobia. I think it's
not
disgusting.
homophobia. I know where you stand on it. You're completely against it, rightly so. On the whole football and morals and the political side of it, do you think that should be taken into account when choosing a host nation?
Money talks, unfortunately, I think. And I think the two very different spheres that sort of the lines are blurred far too often, because football can be used for political purposes and vice versa. How many times have we seen politicians put on an England shirt when they're playing, say, I'm like the common man, like Rishi Sunak down the pub, and I know, yeah, exactly.
This is the Rishi Sunak and
I think,
or the Keir Starmer one, or the Priti Patel one.
Yeah. I think from a fan's point of view, I think it's difficult because you can have certain moral grounding and be a football fan, and sometimes it's like when they blur the lines, like, I hate that, I don't want the World Cup being held at Qatar, and you can really, really hate it, but they'll still watch the World Cup. So like, which one do you hate? Do you love football more than you hate homophobia? Or do you know what I mean? Or like, what is it? And I think it's difficult, and for me personally, I just try to separate the two, because my point of view on where a football tournament is being held, I'm never going to influence that. So I'll enjoy the football and I'll call out injustice as and when it happens.
Alexei, quickly, your stance on it?
Yeah, I mean, I think the problem with it is we all have our opinions and quite strong moral viewpoints, but the truth of it that I think we all know deep down is we all still watched that World Cup, didn't we, that's just gone. And a lot of people kind of spoke out against it, but we all ended up watching it. And it's really complex, because obviously when you go down the route, so let's say you criticise one country that's hosting it, but then someone can say, well, what about the stuff going on in that country? So it's really complex. I mean, people forget, like, the World Cup was in Russia, 5 years ago? That's mad, isn't it? They had a World Cup in Russia, and now Russia, obviously they invaded Ukraine, and they suddenly kind of, Russia was suddenly kind of obviously stripped of everything and swindled away. But it wasn't like really a secret that Putin was a bad bloke, was it, when they got the World Cup before? So like that, for example, was just completely ridiculous. But even then, even when it was so obvious that Putin was obviously an awful bloke and they shouldn't be hosting the World Cup, they still hosted it and everyone still watched it. So it does show, doesn't it? Like, whatever the situation is, people still just watch the football, I think, don't they?
Yeah, and I think it's the hysteria that goes around. And I'm not saying the hysteria is unfounded, especially when it's around like Qatar or Putin. But there's a lot of virtue signaling, isn't there?
There is.
It.
I mean,
I think there's a lot of people who go like, you know what? It's trendy to. It's like when the Black Lives Matter happened during the George Floyd murder. Everyone's like, Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. But after that sort of, when it sort of petered out of being like the trending topic on Twitter, they move on to something else.
I love, right, my pal Darren Richmond did a tweet. Because, like, Jordan Henderson was catching flack for...
He should do as well.
For having this moral stance and sticking up for LGBTQ rights. Then he's gone to Saudi Arabia. Now he's been doing adverts for him for the World Cup. And Darren quoted, he did a video, Jordan Henderson, saying come to the World Cup. And Darren tweeted it, and he put, "Those are my principles, and if you don't like them, well, I have others." And I love that.
Yeah.
It's Groucho Marx quote, but it's like that, isn't it? It's like, those are my principles. If you don't like them, I've got other ones. Because, Jordan Henderson was this sort of
he typified
social justice warrior who got paid a bit of money and then said, actually, do you know what? I don't really care about that anymore. Getting some of the comments, because loads of people commenting, and I know everyone's got an opinion on it. Jacob Higdon says morals don't exist anymore. Don't exist in business. Sorry, Heaven Soul says Keir Starmer does watch football though. He does watch football, but this whole posing thing, come on when England plays, just a lot of them who do me head in. Brian Casey says, are you both excited about the UK and Ireland hosting the Euros? I can't be more excited if I tried. DB Cooper says, I gotta say, I've always wondered who is Jay and Scotty's favourite Spice Girl?
Oof, Emma
Bunton.
Yeah, probably.
Right, fair enough.
And then the Scouse one.
Melanie Chisholm.
I don't know that one.
Yeah.
She was known as the Scouse one.
Yeah.
She's got the best voice. She's the only one who could sing out of the Spice Girls. I like Jerry as well.
Jerry, so you're just going for all of them?
And Mel.
Yeah, do you know what I mean?
And what was the other one called?
Well, there was Victoria
as well.
Before she came, Victoria Beckham. Then there was obviously Mel B, Melanie Brown, Melanie Chisholm, Emma Bunton, and Jerry Halliwell.
All right, but it's like marry, shag, kill.
The Spice Girls.
Well, you can't do the kill because we probably get banned off YouTube. What can we do? Marry, shag. Avoid. Well, very well done there. Go on.
It's a very, very good question, that, isn't it?
I go Emma Bunting for the marriage.
Marry Emma Bunting, right? Okay.
Bunting.
Yeah.
And then I'd
Bunting.
Just getting
Jubilee.
patriotic. There would be a jubilee if I married Emma Bunting.
Yeah.
And then I'd probably do the sex with. I'd do the sex with Jerry
Halliwell.
Yeah, but are we going back in the day? Like she looked like she was,
Didn't she used to be a porn star? Didn't she?
She used to be a porn star.
Not a porn star. She did Page 3 and all that.
Yeah, I'm like she looked like she looks like she'd have fun in the bedroom, and then I'd probably avoid Victoria.
Really?
Yeah, I just don't know what we talk about.
See, I'd probably. I don't know. It's a difficult. I like the idea. Emma Bunting seems like a safe pair of hands to marry, doesn't she? I don't want to just be the same as you though, but I feel like I'd marry Jerry Halliwell. He's
married Jerry Halliwell.
Yeah.
Didn't she? Was she ever going with Robbie Williams for a while? Have I made that up?
I think she went out with Chris Evans as well. I think she went out with a few of them, but
no.
She's always very chatty, Jerry Halliwell. You ever see her on any shows? She's got a lot to say. I don't mind that.
No.
I think Snog. Marry, Snog, Avoid we did, didn't we?
For you?
Yeah. Snog, Melanie B.
Yeah.
Spice. And Avoid the Scouse one. Because not anything against her because she's Scouse, but she is.
Yeah.
So that's just not.
Yeah, by default. Yeah.
Loads of people in
we should do that every week.
Yeah, let's see how quickly we can get cancelled by doing that before someone gets offended by it. Santa Notch says some people just can't stand the fact that homophobia is campaigned against when it is the most common and widespread form of discrimination in football, according to reports, surveys, etc. I agree, Santa Notch, and I think there's far too much of it just gets ignored and it's not on. DB Cooper says basically Scotty's favourite is all of them. Jacob Higdon says Bellingham next England captain.
1 minute on the Bellingham. Can you imagine if you could like I'm doing like a Frankenstein of the Spice Girls? That'd be pretty decent.
In what way?
Like if you just put them like different bits together, like
Then they just look like ridiculous.
yeah, but they'd be fitting ridiculous, like a fit Frankenstein.
Right.
Like if you had like I don't know, whose head would you have?
Do you know what? No.
We're not going down there. No.
Do you really want to? Do you want to
Probably
make a Frankenstein monster using the Spice
I'm just
Girls?
saying it'd be a good idea.
This is a ropey road, rocky road we're going down. I'll
I'm not physically. Not.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go bloody Jerry Dahmer on him.
Right.
Jeffrey Dahmer.
Jerry Dahmer. Hey, Jeffrey's less known younger brother. He tried his hand at serial killing, didn't really work out, so he went and got a job on the checkouts at Costco.
Now he's making cutouts of the Spice Girls.
Jerry Dahmer.
He must be a person.
No, well, there probably is a Jerry Dahmer, but he's not anything to do with what you're thinking about. When you say about this Frankenstein's monster of the Spice Girls, which is not a sentence I say every week, and you talk about you taking physical attributes of each
That's
of
what
them
I was saying.
to make
Like, have you
the
seen
perfect-
Weird Science?
with Kelly LeBrock?
Yes.
Yes.
Like that. Where,
Do you know
where,
she married Steven Seagal?
I did know that. Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy, isn't it? Yeah, but she was one person.
I'm just saying, if you, a man can dream. Someone said Scotty just fancies all the Spice Girls, and I'm
Right.
just saying, well, you should put them all in a,
Right. Okay. There
in
you
a pot
go.
and stir it down, see what you get.
We've cleared that up then. Thanks for that. Jim Mack says human resources have joined the chat. Yeah. If you want to see more nonsense, because we do have more. This is our nonsense, but we do have more.
This is clean.
You can join our Patreon. There's a link in the chat. Get involved in that. Also, as well, make sure if you're not doing already, you are subscribing to the channel. Alexei, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Big shout out to producer Alexei.
Yeah, man.
We're back on Thursday with Agony Uncles. And then at the weekend, we'll have some Patreon, extra content on the Patreon as well. So make sure you're checking that out. Go on.
I just wanted to apologise to, what are they called? Victoria, Mel,
No, go on. Don't try to be too
Jerry. I'm not Jerry.
I want the surnames as well.
Oh, fucking that. Victoria Adams.
Yes.
Mel, I don't know. B, give us a Brown. Yeah, Brown. Mel Chisholm, Emma Bunting,
Yeah, all right.
and Jerry Allowell. So I'd like to apologise to you all. I mean, give us a call.
And on that bombshell, this has been Scotty and Motty. That's been producing Alexei. That's been Scotty. I've been Motty. You've been Ace. Thanks
They
for
might like
watching.
poetry.